Hey everybody, and welcome to our retro movie review for 1987's Coming to America. Stephen, this is one of our favourite movies of all time, comedy movies of all time, of course starring the great Eddie Murphy at the pomp of his game. The guy was just the king of comedy, stand-up Saturday Night Live, I want to say, perhaps round about that time, maybe a little earlier. And the equally magnificence of Arsenio Hall in as a sort of co-star. And just the shenanigans these two guys get up to in this movie is second to none. Yep. I don't even know the first time I seen this movie, but I have watched it probably about a dozen, if not more, times. I just watch it for the kicks. For Sexual Chocolate alone, really, I watch this whole movie. But there's so much going on in there. When did you first become acquainted with this movie and the magnificence of Akeem and Semi?
Clearly, I'm a lot older than you, John, so I do remember the first time. It was 1988. It came out in VHS. Because I was too young to go and see this in the cinema. I was 11 when this came out, so don't regret it or anything like that. It's not like I had to have the cinematic experience of this film. No. But I still remember it. Fellow movie burner got it on VHS, Kevin, and my sister robbed him of that, and she watched it probably about twice a day for about 4 years. And I can understand I actually didn't watch it for a while because of that, but love this film, John. It's one of his best. It's one of his greatest, actually. I loved Beverly Hills Cop. That was probably the first time I saw Eddie Murphy in a film, and I loved that film. That came out a little earlier in the sort of early to mid 80s. And that had hints of comedy in it. I knew where he came from, his stand-up and stuff like that. And who his idols were, the likes of Richard Pryor, etc. So I knew where he was coming from. When I saw him in Beverly Hills Cop, there was elements of comedy in that. There was obviously a seriousness in it as well, but it was just this charming sort of funny character he was playing in that. When this film came out, it was kind of dubbed romantic comedy, which it is. It kind of is, but it's not one of those sort of ones that we're used to seeing that were made around about the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, the Hugh Grant ones.
Yeah, are a bit more soppy comedy, if you like. This was just out and out outrageous at the time. I think it's the first time we see Eddie Murphy doing multiple characters in a film as well. I might be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
But if someone wants to comment, but I do think it is the first time, John. But I've always loved this film since the first time watching it back in 1988, right up to now. I've seen it probably about 4 months ago. I think it was on one of the terrestrial TV channels, and we were talking about this the other week, I can't remember what film it was.
Shawshank.
When it comes on the TV, you've got to watch the rest of it. This is the same, it doesn't matter whereabouts in the film it is. When you channel hop and you see it, you're glued to it. It's just something about this, and the cast as well. It's just a great cast, and just a colourful, array of characters as well.
Oh, absolutely, Stephen. I mean, there's characters in this movie which I can't even find in the actual billing on IMDb.
Just look under Eddie Murphy. He's doing
it's
them all.
Eddie Murphy, and there's probably about 50 characters. So there's characters from the Barbers and whatnot, which are just magnificent.
Yeah,
I don't even know their names, but they're so memorable. I could probably rhyme off a conversation that they have in this movie. I say probably because sometimes my memory. Rocky Marciano. Why is it every time a white man mentions a white guy speaks about boxing, he's got to mention Rocky Marciano? Stephen, the introduction to this movie though. I've says matte painted Zamunda galore going on here, really. It's like what was that guy called, that great matte painter whose name's completely eluded me for some
Ralph McQuarrie.
McQuarrie, the great Ralph McQuarrie. That great, I couldn't even remember his name. It was almost like one of his works in the intro of this movie. The music's stunning. It's like sort of African vibes going on. It's all building to a big extravagant celebration. There's a wedding in Zamunda, and then we have obviously the interior shots of the palace.
I love the blending shot, John, that Paramount did with their traditional, mountain logo. Blends into basically it's one of the mountains in Zamunda. But it's a great intro. It
really is, Stephen. And then also we have this big sort of ceremonial dance thing where the other family are coming in, and I want to say there's about 1,000 people inside this palace. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
Amazing choreography going on in terms of dancing, all the colours and the sounds and the sights. Just a fantastic start to the movie, really. And then the bride-to-be is thrust to the centre of the sort of, I wouldn't say promenade, but maybe the the walkway, and she goes up the stairs, and we get the amazing chanting from, I'm going to find the guy's name right now, Paul Bates. His name's Oha in the movie, and he's singing "She's Your Queen to Be." What a performance! The guy is just incredible.
The guy can hit the notes, John. You're absolutely right. And it's that the intro music, like you said, it just gives you the sort of vibes of the sort of kind of community sort of sound to it, and obviously traditional African instruments and stuff like that. But this guy, what a singer! And I don't know what he's done since or what he's done before, but I always had the sort of impression that he was more of a singer than he was an actor, just because he's that good at singing.
He's been in 60 roles, but I mean...
Just prior to this, John, we did get that little scene of Akeem waking up, and he's got his ritual. And there is a little bit of dialogue. I just felt it was important to mention this, that he has doubts about this whole tradition.
Yeah, he has the fight with Semi as well, the little sparring match. I actually forgot all about that. That's great, you're right.
But it does set it up, and it does kind of give you it gives you an idea of his concerns of the big day, if you like. And this is obviously when he first meets his wife as well, his bride-to-be, I should say.
Shows you the two different characters as well. Stephen Sema is he's more materialistic and chauvinistic, superficial in what he wants from a woman, whereas Akeem wants intelligence. He wants to be tested emotionally and intelligently as well as physically. So
there's something very old-fashioned about the message in this film, John. And it's very... it's quite it's rare these days, to get a film like that, and it gives you the sort of character of Akeem as well, and what kind of person he is, and you take to him right away because of those things, Semi, on the other hand, what he's like. He's a git, but he's a funny git, certainly, as we'll talk about in this film. But those two meeting for the first time, the bride and groom, and he calls her into the room because he wants to get to know her. He's not going to have a lot of time to get to know her before they've got to do their sort of marriage vows and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And it's such a funny moment as well. I don't know if you would get away with that now, John.
No.
With the portrayal of the female in that scene.
I think Eddie would do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it anyway because it's comedy. And when it comes to comedy, John, I get comedy, and I get there's areas you can go to that you shouldn't go to any other way. But if it's in comedy and it's not offending anyone, then why not? Certainly in this scene, John, it is a very funny scene. Even back in 1987, I was laughing my head off as an 11-year-old at this scene because I don't know the actress's name, but she is a match for Eddie Murphy's comedic timing in this scene. She's not really got a lot to do in the film as a whole because Sheila Johnson,
lady in waiting.
Yeah, and she's so funny in this scene as well, and her reactions, and obviously Eddie Murphy's reactions. At one point, he actually breaks the fourth wall and turns around to the camera, doesn't he? And looks at the camera.
This is what I'm up against here. The stupid rituals we've got, these arranged marriages to airheads that just want to please me. They don't care about anything else. And I think it's perfect, Stephen, because it sets up the situation he's in. He's already established, as you did say, with Semi, what he wants from a woman. And then he's thrust into this marriage, and it's clear that this woman has nothing in common with him. It's not even remotely what he wants.
She's been programmed since a young age.
I mean, what food do you like? The kind of food you like?
Yeah, it's sad in a way.
Yeah, and bark like a dog and whatnot, hopping what. It's amazing. I think he would do it. I don't think Eddie gives a shit. I think he'd definitely try that again if he was doing a similar movie like this, because he's much like, it's just something from that era. They don't care. It's not like just now, but it's all snowflakes and whatnot. They were brought up. It's different times, and it served the purpose to show that the situation he's in, everybody just grovels to these royal what is it, Jaffa the Jaffa royal family. They don't want to misplease them in any way, so they just lay down to them, and it's all superficial. So that's why he has to go to the US to get a bride, because he has to leave the country to somewhere where he's not recognisable, to find someone who loves him for who he is, not for his title.
He makes this arrangement with his dad, as you said, John. It's I think 30 days he's got to find his bride in America, and this sets.
I don't think he says that to his father though. He wants to go off and clear his mind or something. He doesn't say that he's going to get another bride, but secretly
I think it's the duration is the only thing they agreed on, wasn't it? 30 days, wasn't it? And then it's up to him to decide where he's going, if it's going to be LA or New York. I think they flip a coin, actually. It's got Akeem's head on the coin. Shows you the position of this guy.
Yes,
you know,
it's
New York, flip for, and then they go into the map and then they decide where they want to live. Queens.
Yeah. Oh, wow, it's a real shithole, Stephen. Certainly it was back then. Look, I can say that because I come from a shithole here in Glasgow, so absolutely fine for me to say that. Well, that looks much rougher than where I come from in Glasgow, I have to say. But Stephen, that does lay down the plot. What's happening with Akeem and Semi? They are off to the US, or America, as the title of the movie would say, to find a more independent thinking bride who will love him for who he is, all the ties to royalty and whatnot aside. And it really does beautifully establish it early on in the movie. They then go to Queens. They go into a taxi. They're suited and booted. He's got a big extravagant sort of fur coat on. And they're immediately robbed as they go to, I think, look at the apartments they're going to be staying in. And then also you get Semi coming out, and you've got guys trying to sell him gold toothbrushes and utensils and hairdryers, and he's shouting thief. And also Akeem's like, look, it doesn't matter that we're here to get away from that crap.
There's something about that that kind of comedy I like. When they step outside, I think it's the next day, isn't it?
Because these are the people that stole.
Yeah, exactly. But you see that little kid on the skateboard with all the chains around their neck. It's just so funny to see, you know.
Yeah, Stephen, again, that's just classic Eddie Murphy, as I did say.
And wearing all the African clothes as well. Absolutely brilliant.
This is roundabout when the guy was doing, I think it's the Raw, Eddie Murphy Raw stand-up. Yeah. So he's absolute, he's absolute prime in terms of comedy. Some would say he's never lost it. I did watch him recently on Saturday Night Live. He was a little rusty, but he still had that timing and the funny elements to him. So, but this guy was at these absolute prime in this movie, and you can see that just with the concepts, the way he's creating the scenes and what he's doing with the characters around about. None more so than when they actually go into the barbers. Yeah, I think it's round about this point.
I think that's when he wants a haircut.
Yeah, he wants a haircut. I think he sees the Soul Glow advert or something.
Yeah,
and we have to speak about Soul Glow as well. Soul Glow.
John, I would love Soul Glow to sponsor this show.
Yeah, Soul Glow. What an advert. I don't know if it's Daryl who's in the advert, but he certainly looks as though he's in that advert. It's just classic Prince style 80s music as well. Yeah. It's 80s galore. I mean, I love the 80s. I was born at the tail end, but I do love that era in terms of music. Distinctly different to every other era. And then they obviously go into the barbers. He thinks that's how he's going to woo a woman in the US, by having that permed Soul Glow look. And the guy says, what the hell do you want a hairstyle like that for? Just cut it off, it's all natural. I think he cuts off the little braiding at the back. But it's more the humour and the banter that's bouncing around the actual barber shop. You've got about 4 or 5 guys, and I think Bar Cuba Gooden Jr. who's playing a short little cameo role.
That's right, yeah. He's one of the customers.
Yes, all Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy who are playing
you've got Eddie Murphy playing 2 of the roles. He's playing the main barber. I'll get his name, John. And you've also got Eddie Murphy playing the white guy with the hat and moustache and glasses. And then you've got Arsenio Hall.
He did whoop Joe Lou's ass.
Yeah, you've got Arsenio Hall as well, playing the sort of elderly chap with the kind of greyish beard and glasses as well. So there's maybe about 4 in there,
It's just a patter, Stephen.
And the little guy as well who loves Randy Watson.
Oh, yeah.
You can't forget him.
Oh, yeah.
He good.
Yeah. That boy good. Oh, Stephen, it's just the conversation. They get on to, I think, meeting Martin Luther the King. I think one of them saying, you lying.
Yeah,
you didn't meet Martin Luther the King. You're saying it the King. You're prefixing it. It's just amazing humour. As you did say, I think it's the first time they have been tackling multi-characters. When I grew up watching Eddie Murphy, my mind springs back to like the Nutty Professor and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's mid-90s, 96. I was about 5, 6, 7 years old watching this guy. He was already way in to these multi-character movies and whatnot, but I think this was the first time, and you could argue it was the best attempt at it.
I think it was, John. You're absolutely right. That sort of period in his career when he was doing multi-characters, you're right. If it started off with Come to America, which is an absolute peach to do it in, it probably bookended at Bowfinger when he did the double sort of, which is an amazing film as well, John. I've not seen that in years. I need to go and watch that again. Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy doing what they do best. But you're absolutely right. This was the first of its kind as I can recall.
Absolutely, Stephen. I can't think of many others, but also I think there's a point in between the sexual chocolate concert, so we'll not speak about that quite yet. We'll let that marinate beautifully. I think he goes off and search for a wife with falsely Hakeem that is, and they go hunting in the nightclubs of Queens or New York, Long Island, whatever.
Yeah.
What a scene again, Stephen. I don't know if there's multi-characters in this. I don't think there is.
Semi plays the...
Yeah, that's right.
The one at the very end.
Yes, I'll eat your... what is it he says again? Something about I'll eat your... I can't recall. It was something strange.
Something about, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
and
like
your
a devil
friend too.
worshipper.
Yeah, and your friend too.
But again, all the different characters, you see what...
I want to rip you apart.
Yeah, I want to rip you up.
And your friend too, and Semi spits the water out. Yeah, or the drink out,
I think he's got a little cherry thing or something out his drink. It's just amazing, the cuts to him, the comedic timing, fantastic. And again, I think that's just every comedian at some level has this degree of people watching within them, where they've watched different people in their daily life and then they implement that into a movie or a show or whatever, and you can see that's what Eddie's did in this movie, perhaps Arsenio Hall as well. They've spotted people like this in their lives, or maybe know them through the stand-up circuit.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And then they've popped them in various different little short snippets. You've got the twins who have been separated. You think you actually know the quote, Stephen? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we've been separated. This is the first date that Teresa and I have been on since the doctor separated us or something like that. Yeah.
And then you've got I used to be Joan of Arc, kind of form of life with the flame. And then also the rapping twins as well. But
another one that wanted to be a rock star and a producer and produce their own songs and write their own songs, blah blah blah.
And again, what they're really establishing here is he's came from Zamunda to get away from airheads who just want to please him. They don't care about anything else, having any modicum of commonality with obviously Hakeem. He's came from that, and then he's came to the US, and he has the polar opposite. They are so single-minded that they don't care about anybody else, self-absorbed. It's just obsessed with chauvinistic, materialistic things. So again, he's laying down layers here. There's great comedy, but there's an undercurrent of a message being told. And then he also meets, I think it's the barber again, one of the guys from the barber shop. And he says, what the hell are you doing looking for you'll not get a good wife or woman there. You have to go to a wholesome family place. And that takes them to this...
It's like a community.
Yeah, it's like a community centre for like a cash-raising... concert or charity gig or something. He says that's where you'll meet the type of women you want, and that takes us into obviously the introduction of two amazing characters. Well, there's maybe four. You've got Cleo the dad.
He's good,
You've obviously got the main female character who he's trying to woo. Lisa, name completely eluded me there. And then you've got Reverend Brown, and then Randy Watson of Sexual Chocolate. Steve,
before Sexual Chocolate, Johnny was Joe the Policeman.
He was Joe the Policeman, and
the episode of What's Going Down my episode, So
that What's Going Down episode of
That's My Mama.
Yeah, Joe the Policeman and Reverend Brown. Stephen, this is probably one of my favourite comedic scenes in any movie ever.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Just everything about it. Just the fact that Randy Watson gets the crowd to applaud his band before he actually performs, because he knows they're so bad they're going to get booed off, and it will be ungodly silence. And he's stamping his feet and whatnot. He's absolutely butchering a Whitney Houston number, I want to say. Children Are the Future or something like that. I don't actually know the name of it. I actually only know about it because of this movie. When I listened to the original, I was like, oh wow, he has butchered
The Greatest Love of All, I think it's called. The Greatest
Love of All, that is the name of the song. Just everything, the saxophone, the undersized tuxedo, the frilly stuff, and just the back and forth. And Reverend Brown, he's been my reverend since I was a little boy, and I love him very dearly. You're such a wonderful audience, stuff like that. Give yourselves a big round of applause, and while you're at it, give my band a round of applause. Just amazing scene. But it introduces Lisa, who is going to be the focus of Hakeem throughout the rest of the movie. He becomes infatuated with her and wants to woo her.
It also introduces Darryl as well. He's sitting in the crowd, and when the collection tin's going round, he totally body swerves it. He's probably the wealthiest guy out with Hakeem at this point, because he is
driving around in a Porsche or something.
He's part of the Soul Glow. I think it's his father's invention, isn't it? So he comes from money, and he won't even put his hand in his pocket for the collection tin. So shows you the type of guy he is, you know. Whereas I think Hakeem orders Semi to put the whole wad of money into the collection tin, which Darryl then takes the credit for later on as well. So it kind of shows up for what the guy is, you know.
He's a shithead. Stephen, look, before we move on, I have to touch upon the singing. I mean, Eddie's clearly not a singer, but
Well, not in this, John. He's a very good singer.
Oh, good singer.
Yeah,
there you go. I
yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah, I think I've seen him. Yeah, I think I've seen him singing.
Showgirl. I can't remember that. No, I can't remember what the film was called, John. But he was. He did some performing in it. I can't remember what it's called, but
yeah,
he's a very good singer.
Yeah, it shouldn't surprise me. The guy's just the ultimate sort of all well-rounded.
Well, he can hold a tune. I'm not going to say he's in the sort of same bracket as Jamie Foxx or anything like that, but he can hold a tune.
But Stephen, that sequence is amazing. It's the hip moving and the things like that, and just incredible sequence. I love it. I love the back and forth. Reverend Brown's one of my favourite characters. I think it's Arsenio Hall plays him in this movie. But then that leads us to McDowell's, the fake McDonald's restaurant where Akeem and Semi have decided they are going to become employees to try and get close to the McDowell family and Lisa McDowell. And you've got obviously Cleo McDowell. He's explaining what's going on. They have the Big Mac. We have the Big Mick. They have the Golden Arches. We have, I want to say, the Golden M, but I don't know if that's correct. Even down to the tartan and whatnot. You've got the ginger-haired guy, chubby guy, who's working I think the bugger flipping. Who knows, in 10 years I may be manager or something like that. And Akeem's like, what is going on here? He's having to mop the floor. He can't even mop it correctly because
he's not took out the bucket.
He's never had to do menial tasks like this in his life. What did you make about the whole McDowell thing and Cleo McDowell and
John,
just the introduction?
I don't know if there's anything probably mentioned in IMDb about this at all, but at the time I thought, how are they getting away with this? You know, there must have been something that McDonald's allowed them to do, because it's so set up in a way where you're just a total. It's probably just
allowing the Golden Arches in the movie. That is product placement. That is enough for
that's
McDonald's.
And the uniforms as well, John.
There's enough similarities that people would just associate that with McDonald's.
Yeah.
Probably ran out to get a Big Mac right after watching it. Yeah. I know I would love to get a Big Mac right now. I'm badly missing McDonald's, even though it's absolute trash. I love it. I'm missing my Big Tasty. But Stephen, you're right. Obviously, it does introduce Daryl properly.
Yeah.
He comes into the office and he takes credit for placing a large donation in one of the baskets at that event. Akeem comes in, mopping the floor. He tries to mosey in. It's awkward as hell, but it does. Yeah. It gets I think tickets to a date.
See, when you're going back to the ginger guy, John, I don't know if you know this. He's actually Louis Anderson. He was actually, I think it was Comedy Central named. They did the 100 greatest stand-up comedians of all time. He's actually in there. So he is more well known in the US than he is here in the UK. I've seen him crop up in a few films. Ferris Bueller springs to mind for some reason. The bit part in that. He's just got one of those faces that you always recall. Yeah. I mean, you can picture him
like
right
Jesse
now.
Plemons of the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's something about his face, Stephen. I have seen him in other things. Also not in big roles, but
no.
But I'm not entirely sure if this does lead into the double date at the basketball game. I don't know if that's this point. I want to say it is. I think it's Lisa's sister goes with Akeem, and obviously Lisa goes with Daryl. They go to, I presume, a Knicks game. Yeah. And there's some awkward shit, in this. I mean, Jesus, they're asking him what university it goes to. It's a very small university. It doesn't even have a sports team. The University of the United States or something. It's almost like Billy Madison, where she's saying something little big townville, and he obviously finds it.
Mr. Deeds, yeah,
Mr. Deeds. Sorry, no, not Billy Madison. Yeah. It's almost like that, where he's conjuring up things, and you can just sense.
Sounds so fake, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they buy it briefly. And then also you've got the Daryl stuff, soccer, things like that. He's getting groped underneath, and he's saying it's cute how they bounce that ball off their heads and whatnot. Interactions there. He goes to the restroom, and he gets spotted by a citizen of Zamunda. Brings up another amazing moment. He's kind of a down hero worship him, asking for photographs and whatnot. I think Daryl or Lisa asks him, who was that guy? He's like, it's just some man I met in the restroom. And then again, the comedic timing in this movie, he's cut to Daryl and he gives a little glance.
The raised eyebrows,
what the hell are you doing in that restroom? What is going on? What did you make of that sequence? I mean, it
kind of shows the ignorance of Daryl more than anything, John. There's not a lot of great comedy in it, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be the characters getting to know each other. But this guy is just an ignoramus. He's saying things about you must have learned that kind of stuff. Wearing clothes must be a novelty for you.
He's pushing it.
You know, that kind of thing. He's very ignorant, you know, of where obviously Akeem comes from. But there's some funny moments, like you said, John. Obviously, the restroom scene was probably the funniest part. In the face, you know, he's shouting these things. That, you know, it's only halftime. What are you doing? You know, so there's some awkward stuff going on there. But it's really just to, you know, it's the best that Akeem can do at this point, isn't it? You know, he's going on it's the closest he can get to Lisa is actually going out on a date with her sister. You know, it's how pathetic he is at this point. You know, he doesn't know how to you know, handle the situation. He only knows that he's got half the job done by introducing himself and putting himself into her life, but not the way that he wants.
No, he's getting saddled with the sister that he doesn't want anything to do with, who's again chauvinistic and kind of a superficial, shallow, I want to say.
She is, yeah.
Stephen, I think we actually missed the scene that causes this double date. I think it's actually the robbery of McDowell's, and when Samuel L. Jackson comes in...
I wasn't sure, John, if that was before or not.
Because I think that leads to the double date.
Yeah.
She's obviously thankful that he saved the day, the bacon of the restaurant.
I think it was after, because the reason I say that is because I think Akeem's introduced to the sister in McDowell's. I think that's probably why we're getting mixed up.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a case of, you know... obviously Akeem and Lisa have had some dialogue, you know, within the first few days of them starting there, and then she said, take a wee seat, take a little seat, this is my sister, you know, we've got tickets for such and such a game, you know, would you like to go? He thinks that she's asking him out, but you know, we'll go on a double date and his face just falls, you know, and that's how it's set up. But I do think the robbery scene is afterwards, because Daryl's more impressed with Akeem at this point, you know, obviously the way he tackles the robber.
Yeah, I mean, I would have helped you, but I was holding a cup of coffee
behind
a pram. Yes, again.
He's such a git, isn't he?
But visually, Stephen, it's just perfect. It shows you this guy's an absolute shitbag of the highest order. Not interested in conflict at all. He just wants to play the sort of male chauvinist hero figure. But
he's good at it, yeah.
He is good at it, but he's just a shithead. Samuel L. Jackson, Stephen, I think this could be his first appearance in a movie. Again, there's so much going on here. There's obviously the twirling of the stick, that harkens back to the fighting at the start, the playful sort of jabbing of each other, Akeem and Semi, but just the line that I think Semi says, frees you the diseased rhinoceros pizzle, just magnificent. I don't think anyone could probably say it other than him.
I like the way it's shot as well, John, because you see Akeem unscrewing the stick from the mop, and Semi's eyes are on it right away. They do actually zoom into Semi's eyes as if he knows what's... because we do get a kind of idea that they're you know, they practice some form of arts, martial arts, at the start of the film with sticks and stuff like that. So the minute he starts doing that, it's very subtle, it's very clever, you know, the way the cinematographer's done that, and you know, the way he takes him out as well is amazing, you know. But Samuel Jackson probably rules this scene for me, just with obviously his dialogue. Semi does have that great line, but it's just typical Samuel stuff. This was the first film I saw him in. I don't know if it was the first one we ever did. I'm not really sure. But
it must be that.
You know, he's always been like that. You know, Samuel. You know, he just he's just one of the guys. When he's in a scene, he always owns the scene. In this, it's just a cameo. And for some reason, his performance in this, which is under a minute long, he's probably got maybe 3 lines in the whole scene. It's memorable.
It's just the charisma of the man, Stephen. He just commands your attention when he's on the screen. There's something about him in terms of stature and whatnot. He was in a lot of movies prior to this. I presume it was little short roles, really. I mean, going back to the mid-70s TV movies and whatnot, but it's the first one I can really remember him being in. Also, if someone out there's a complete nutter, out-and-out cinephile who knows Samuel L. Jackson's back catalogue, perhaps you can correct us and tell us what was his first meaningful role. Certainly this isn't a meaningful role for Samuel in terms of his career, but it's memorable, but it's not a huge...
It's memorable in hindsight though, John, because at the time I wasn't really thinking too much about it other than I like this guy, he's quite funny. Obviously when you look back at his catalogue after Coming to America, you look back and go, Samuel Jackson was in Coming to America.
Absolutely,
But if he wasn't in, you know, if he didn't have a successful career after that, it would have just been Joe the Policeman and
what's going down there, so that's my mama,
you know?
Stephen, I think after this, I'm not entirely sure again in terms of the timeline, whether the bickering starts with Semi and Akeem at this point. I think it may be the engagement party that happens prior to that. Also, they go to the McDowell's house. I think Akeem is invited to be the bartender.
But it's not an engagement party.
It's not an engagement party, no, and it's just a party. And he is obviously bartending with this little train thing. Cleo McDowell thinks he's awestruck. He's shown him around his house. Who knows, in 30 years of hard work you could one day own a house like this. And Hakeem's like, yeah, it's a beautiful house, but really it's the size of like my closet, as you said, Stephen. It's like teeny compared to my palace. So you're not impressing me here, but I'll go along with the ride anyway.
But he should be proud.
He should be proud.
Yeah, he's a hard working man.
Yes. But Stephen, obviously we have Reverend Brown again. He's talking about if loving God is wrong, then I don't want to be riding, breaking down the walls of Jericho. And
do you ever notice nobody's actually listening to him? You know, any scene he's in, nobody's like sort of
completely out of context.
You know? Yeah, he's just what?
He's just ranting off about godly things and whatnot, and people are like, yeah, okay, drinking champagne. But of course, Darrow has arranged a secret engagement with Cleo behind Lisa's back. They announce it, and she's absolutely furious. She goes out to the swings, and I think this starts the beginning of the blossoming romance between Hakeem and Lisa. She kicks Darrow to the curb and decides she's going out and dating Hakeem just to get under Cleo or Dad's skin at that moment, because she knows that he will be dead set against her dating some beggar from...
Yeah, it's really funny because, you know, there's not much difference between Lisa and Hakeem in regards to the way they view people and what they want out of people as well. Lisa's very much the same as Hakeem. We've been talking about Hakeem looking for, you know, this female that is, you know, in his eyes is so rare, you know, because you know, he's looking for someone that thinks for themselves, etc. Lisa's the same, you know. She's already tried. I always thought she's a sensible girl. Why is she hanging about this absolute jerk, you know? But she does have the same kind of principles, you know, as Hakeem as well. Also in this scene, we can't forget the couch, the famous couch stains.
Yes, the soul glow stains. Yes, the father and mother of obviously Darrow, they sit up or stand up, and there's stains from the soul glow on this. It's just amazing, Steve. Again, the whole sequence is incredible. Reverend Brown, the soul glow, obviously Hakeem, Darrow, just incredible. After that, I think they go out on the date. It goes well for Hakeem. He's very happy. He comes home. And things have they've been going well for Semi, but he's been out and went behind Hakeem's back. He's brought in a sort of jacuzzi set up, and there's neon lights and everything. He's completely tarted up the flat, which incidentally we never did speak about the landlord and whatnot.
Yeah, he was great.
Are you kidding on your unconscious again and whatnot? This is a real shithole. I think it's a blind man and his dog were killed or died, and there's chalk and whatnot on the floor. Semi's like, screw this shit, I'm not staying in this shit home any longer, I'm tarting it up, I'm putting all these things in. He comes back from the date, he's about to bring, obviously, Lisa in, sees that it's ridiculous, it's going to give away that they're rich really, and he has to bail out, but it goes well. He's up in the veranda or landing after it, and he's shouting, good morning, I can't recall what the line was.
Good morning, my neighbours.
My neighbours, and I think they're shouting F you, and he's like, yes, F you too, just again. Brilliant. He's out, and again there was a moment prior to that with obviously a taxi driver, if I can speak. He puts his hands up and he's introduced to the lingo of the United States. So again, a fantastic scene, but it does lead into the bickering. Their romance is growing. The friendship of Hakeem and Semi is being tested to the absolute maximum. Semi wants to go home to Zamunda. He's fed up. He doesn't like working in this shithole McDowell's that he's not used to. He loves his life of luxury.
Yeah, he's a spoiled boy.
Being bathed by beautiful women and just chilling in robes and fighting with Hakeem.
There's always something I always pick up on as well, John, in regards to Semi and King Jaffe Joffer. You can tell King Jaffe Joffer doesn't like Semi. There's no dialogue or anything like that. It's just this vibe that you get that is, you know, you better not be using my son for your own sort of, you know, motives and stuff like that. But there's something there.
And again, you speak about presence, Stephen. James Earl Jones, when he comes on the screen, he just commands presence. This guy is just the epitome of stage and screen presence. I was about to cough there. That would have been
John, obviously, Hakeem and Lisa have got to leave the scene because Hakeem says that I can't remember what the excuse is, but it's something very lame. She doesn't believe it. She just thinks you're so embarrassed, you know, you're a bit of an inverted snob basically. So they go out, I think they go to a restaurant, but there is another kind of memorable scene with obviously Ralph Bellamy and Donna Mecci. The characters from obviously Trading Places, Mortimer and Randolph. I remember the first time I seen this. I'd never seen that before. I've never seen characters within another film appearing in another film. It's not a sequel or anything like that, but just to show that they're in the same world. It was very short, very sweet. You know, we're back. And I always I always wanted, a follow-up. I wanted to see where these two characters were going to go next in their next film and stuff like that, but it was just something very subtle. It was a sort of nod to obviously Trading Places, which is another great film, which I've not seen in a long time, but we're not here to talk about that film.
I'm sure at some point we will.
I can't remember To Be Loved is the song that's getting played. I think it's, I can't remember who sings that now.
He sings it in the veranda.
Yeah, he's out of tune.
Yeah,
but
he's just killing these neighbours.
As you said, it's just this relationship growing, and they're getting to know each other. Lisa understands Akeem a bit more. Obviously, she doesn't know him. She doesn't obviously know his background. So it's interesting to find, if you're seeing this for the first time, how's this going to play out? If he keeps doing this and she falls in love with him, at some point he's going to have to explain.
Yeah,
I'm Prince Akeem, but obviously we get to that scene at the near the end, John. But it was a good scene, and this is where the romantic element comes into it. The comedy kind of drops for a little while after that, as they're developing the relationships side of things, which is another great decision made on the director. I can't remember who actually directs this film, John. It's John Landis. Yes. Famous John Landis, the great John Landis. And it's just something about that, just having that sort of balance between comedy and romance. Because I'll put my hands up, rom-coms, I don't regard this as a rom-com, but it does come under comedy, romantic as a genre, or genres. I just find they get the balance right in this film. That it's not an out-and-out comedy completely. It's not. There is obviously some nice moments in there, some emotional stuff going on as well, but the big part of it, obviously, it's very funny. It's a very funny film, but there's just something about this that I can't remember too many films that have done this since or done it before.
No, well, also Hugh Grant thought he was a great comedian back in the 90s, Stephen, so they tried and failed, but that was more romantic comedy. This is more like a comedy romance, as you did say.
Yeah.
Primarily comedy, beats and stuff going on, but there is a hint of romance under the surface, which grows and grows and grows as the movie goes on. Never did speak about the scene with obviously Akeem sending the ring to Lisa and also the sister. Great music in there. What have you done for me lately? The heavy 80s vibes going on, they're dancing and whatnot. Again, at this point I think Semi goes off and sends a telegraph or something to Zamunda. Alerts that he wants more money or something like that. He's pissed off. And that alerts King Jaffe Joffer and obviously his wife Alien, I want to say.
Yeah, Alien.
Yeah. And they then know something's not right. I think they're over the allotted time as well. So he's like, screw this, I'm going to America to find my son.
Jackie Wilson it was that did To Be Loved, sorry.
Yes, To Be Loved, yes. And then also that brings that incredible scene where the big entourage of Jaffe Joffer's royal plebingtons coming into New York. Just the amazing shot of all the cars coming up, the petals everywhere they go to the barbers. I think they go to the actual flat where they were, but they moved downstairs.
That's right, yeah.
And it's the landlord.
Yeah, he's loving it, isn't he? He's loving life again.
That's not my son, I know that. Or you're not my son, I know that. And it's like, I think he goes to Semi. Semi thinks he's going to get punished to hell, and he's telling him, nope, you're going to the royal suite to be washed down with the bathers, the royal bathers. And he's like, thank you, Your Majesty. He's in his element. Akeem is not in his element. No, things are going to shit at this point. I think he reveals to Lisa that he is in fact a prince. He's of royalty, but he didn't want to reveal it because he wanted her to love him for who he was first and foremost, before he then revealed all of the baggage and whatnot. Yeah, you've got comedy elements going on in here as well. Daryl's been invited over by Cleo, but once he finds out that Akeem is royalty, even Richard again just puts him to the curb. I think he rings the bell about 6 times. It eventually tells him bugger off. He's like, well, you invited me over, what the hell's going on? Yeah,
he tells the dog to go fetch him or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right, the dog bites him. So there's elements going on in here as well. There's comedy, there's romance, and then you've got the arrival of Jaffe Joffer and whatnot, and he's making platitudes to Cleo. But
do you know there's another bit, John, in this, and it's another great comedy moment. You know when Daryl's, he's soaked to the skin, and he's been rejected, so he's feeling very sorry for himself. Lisa's sister picks up on this and gets him, you better come in and we'll have to get these clothes, these wet clothes off. He gives a wee look to the camera, and once again it's just
taking the full fall.
It's great.
It's like rolling the
as I thought, jeez.
Well, if I can't get Lisa, then at least I'm in, so it's all good. I'll still marry into money, so it's all good. And again, You're right, Stephen. Just the balance and what he says before. The balance is just perfect in this movie throughout. And then also there's a chase sequence. Sav says it's like cinematic rain. I mean, I know it's New York and it does rain in New York, much like it does here. They are on the Atlantic. They get Atlantic storms, but that is just like singing in the rain level of rain. It's not realistic at all. He's chasing her through taxis and whatnot. He's declaring his love. She's not interested. Usually in a movie like this, it would come to like a romantic climax and they would fall into each other's arms.
What's the question he asked? Or sort of before they part, just tell me one thing and I'll leave you alone or something. I'm paraphrasing here. I've not seen the film in a wee while, but he says, just tell me that you did love me, before you found out who I really was. And I think she hands the earrings back, doesn't she, to him? That he gave as a gift earlier on in the film. That little old lady says, "I'll marry if you're a prince," and that just kind of sums up, the sort of,
what he was trying to escape.
Yeah, the theme to the film. Yeah,
he was trying to escape these hanger-ons who just love him because he's famous and rich and royalty. One person he wants is now out of his grasp, and that was an interesting way to do it. A nice little fake ending.
Yeah.
Where normally they would go down this pre-established route of them falling into the arms, they kiss happily ever after. But for a brief moment you think, oh no, it's not to be. Yeah. They get back to Zamunda.
And his arranged marriage is taking place. Back to the start,
to go ahead. It's the same dancing, singing and whatnot. But instead of it being the lady in waiting, it is indeed Lisa who is presented. The veil is lifted. And it is a happily ever after scene for the movie. Stephen, look, what was your thoughts on the finale, the fate ending? I think you kind of spoke about that anyway, but what did you think the first time you seen it when the veil was lifted up? Were you absolutely stunned, or did you expect the lady in waiting to be dancing?
I was 11 years
old. Like a dog?
I was 11 years old, John, so I was very naive at the time, so I was very surprised. I didn't think it was going to have that ending, if I'm being honest. Obviously, if I'm watching the film for the first time now, I'd be like, we know what's going to happen here.
Exactly.
The other thing that I picked up on, just when you were asking what were your final thoughts in the finale, is a little bit where John Amos, who plays Cleo McDowell, I think he puts his arm around the Queen, and she kind of looks at him as if, what are you doing? And I think he's got a bottle of champagne. He's not got a glass, he's got a bottle of champagne in his hands. She's just looking at him as if he's riff-raff,
Yeah, Stephen, that actually gets me back. The party food looked incredible, incidentally, in that scene before they all split up and he has to give chase.
Yeah.
I loved his little sausages and whatnot. I love that. I love my food.
Yeah, finger food, yeah.
Yes, finger food. Stephen, standout performances, I've said before we wrap up our thoughts on this movie. Realistically, there's only two real standout performers here. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall absolutely steal the show. Yeah. But look, you have got the likes of what's his face, the guy who plays the actual dad. John Amos. Yeah. The listing that is shocking. The billing on IMDb.
They've got some of the main sort of players down at the very bottom.
Like Bavers above James Earl Jones. What is going on? But Arsenio Hall, Stephen, and Eddie Murphy, fantastic. I mean, one of my favourite movies starring these two guys. Also Arsenio's went off to do chat shows and whatnot and become a real name in his own right. I mean, he wasn't named in his own right at this point as well.
He also was in that film, that Adam Sandler film from a few years ago. I did a review on it. I can't remember what it's called.
Stories?
No, it was the other one. Yeah, the other one. And he hasn't aged. He hasn't.
No, he hasn't. And neither is Eddie.
Sandy Wexler, something I can't remember. Something like that. And he hasn't aged. He looks exactly the same.
I want to know what the hell they're eating, what they're putting on their skin, because Eddie Murphy as well, Stephen. This guy's 50, I think now. And he's not got a single grey hair.
I thought he was old on that.
He's 50 coming up. He's 61, so he's 50 soon. Yeah, 50 this year, I think. Is that right? Am I maths doing me right here? Am I
60?
Yeah, he's 60.
He's Jesus 59, John.
Yeah, he's 60. Jesus Christ, he's 59. It's even more crazy. He's older, and he's not got a single grey hair. The guy looks incredible, and apparently he's not dying it. So, well done, Eddie, and well done, Arsenio.
Yeah.
But Keanu Reeves longevity.
Getting back to your question, John, those two for me. It was a good cast. Everyone was really good in this film, but it's an Eddie Murphy film, so it's going to be Eddie Murphy. He carries the film. Obviously with Arsenio Hall playing second fiddle, but what a second fiddle, just before obviously we close the show, John, as well. It's going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do in coming to America. That's the number America, 2. Yes. You're talking about two guys that have aged brilliantly, so it's not going to look ridiculous.
James Earl Jones has aged appropriately, so he can come in.
Yep, and I think we're getting quite a few of the cast members from the original film coming back. Sadly, some of them have passed away, but it's going to be very interesting. You know, when the concept was first put out there, we talked about it in one of our movie shows maybe about a year ago or something like that, and I thought it was a terrible idea, but the more I think about it, you know, Eddie Murphy's having a sort of second wind just now, if you like, in his career. You know, he's having a successful, you know, few films that have come out over the last few years, you know, on Netflix as well, some of his stuff, you know, as you said, you know, his appearance on Saturday Night Live, he's not going to have that same hunger and the sort of same edge that he had when he was younger, you know, growing up. You know, most comedians successful comedians that is, base it on their lifestyle and their sort of growing up, you know, and it gives them an edge. Obviously, you know, he's had, I don't want to say a privileged life since he, you know, hit the big time or anything like that. He's obviously had his problems and stuff like that in his personal life.
Yeah, his brother passing away.
Yeah, you
Charlie
know,
Murphy,
you know, he's only human at the end of the day, but you know, for him to appear on Saturday Night Live after all this time shows great confidence. He's still got confidence in his own sort of his own ability and obviously his own material as well. So I can't wait to see the film now. I've totally did a 360 on this.
Getting some cast as well, Stephen, the likes of Tracy Morgan, and obviously Wesley Snipes coming in too.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes,
He's playing the uncle, Tracy Morgan. Wesley Snipes is playing a sort of teetotalitarian, I don't even know if I say that right, teetotalitarian leader of a neighbouring African state. So I cannot wait to see this movie. Eddie was coming out and saying that they've somehow managed to balance it, and he thinks fans of the original will be very pleased the way that it's blending in the stories and whatnot. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if the son's going on a similar journey to Akeem. Lord knows. I don't think he would, because I think Akeem would now realise. I don't even know if Jaffe Joffer's still alive, incidentally. You'd think he wouldn't be, because he was... Well, I think
James Earl Jones is in the film, I'm sure he is.
So he must have abdicated. I don't know. I don't know if Akeem's still a prince or a king or not. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it, I have to say, because I'm a big fan of this movie, as you probably gathered watching this review. Stephen, final thoughts on the movie, incidentally. I mean, I don't think we can add much more. It's one of my favourite Eddie Murphy movies. Yeah,
James Earl Jones is back.
He's in it.
And so is John Amos as well.
Yes, well, that's going to be interesting.
And Louis Anderson's back as well. He might actually...
Randy Watson's back, I know that for sure.
Louis Anderson actually might have... He might be management material now at McDowell's, who knows?
Oh, that'd be fantastic, Stephen. Could imagine him running McDowell's whole franchise part of McDowell's. That would be fantastic in terms of continuity. Stephen, what's your final thoughts on this movie? I think we've done it to the death, really. Just great. It's got a great blend, as we did say, of humour, romantic elements, just cutting, breaking the fourth wall, great characters.
Yeah.
They were at the peak of the game, Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think he's done a comedy movie since then that's eclipsed this for me. I don't.
I don't think so, John. Not in that sort of genre.
No.
You know, the two sort of films from that era, as I mentioned, Beverly Hill Cop and Come to America, are probably the ones that stand out the most for me. He did obviously great films before it, and he's done some great films after it.
I always think of The Golden Child.
You know, it just had this period where everything they would just touch was gold. But you know, I look back at this film and the 80s elements are there, the music, the fashion, etc. But the actual story and the underlying tones of the film stay true, you know, and they don't age. You know, it's one of the great things about storytelling. Certainly in this case, it's not dated in that sense, you know. And it's a film I do enjoy going back to, you know, every now and again. I still laugh at bits, even though I know they're coming. Yeah. You know, that's just the talent of Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and obviously the way it's shot as well. John Landis did a fantastic job directing this film as well. Those little cuts, the little sort of break the fourth wall moments as well. You would, you know, bet your bottom dollar Landis had a lot of, you know, he'd hand in a lot of the sort of decisions made on how this film was going to look. Absolutely. And it's just a great film, you know. It's something that I do go back to maybe every couple of years. Certainly if it's on TV, I will catch it.
And Stephen, look, Woody Allen's actually did the cinematography. He's worked with Eddie before in the likes of Harlem Nights and whatnot, Boomerang, so he's got a great relationship. Obviously, Eddie at this point was probably in such a position of power that he was able to lay the law down in terms of story and getting people in and whatnot. Nile Rodgers did the composing.
Yeah.
Loved the score. The score was fantastic. But look, overall, one of my favourite Eddie Murphy movies. I've said it time and time again. I'm not going to repeat myself again. And I think that's going to round up our review of Coming to America on that note. What do you guys make about this great 1988 movie? Are you a fan of Eddie Murphy? Do you love this? Do you think it's his best multi-character movie? Or do you prefer the likes of Dr. Dolittle or the Nutty Professor? If you've got anything to say at all about this movie, about Arsenio Hall, anything in between, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying content like this. And if you do, then you'll see us again tomorrow for our review of Back to the Future.